Hey everyone, this is Black17 here, and today I'll be going over our PFA Season 9 battle, as we are up against Spice. So this is our Week 1 battles, by the way. So already, this is one of those matchups that I kind of like drew myself, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, because I realized this might be a bad matchup either way. So um, so for this week, um, we're facing off against Spice, as we know, and I'm not gonna lie, his team is actually pretty strong for this season. It has a lot of offensive uh, wall breakers, cleaners, and wall breakers in general. Like, I mean, he has a nice Zapdos, and that's something that I don't like. So, and we just kind of like we had to beat him for that because he got our Zapdos. So, I mean, we still have our Koko, but yeah. Zapdos has been taken away, so yeah. Either way, so I'll just explain my team here. So I have a very tanky Garchomp with that sets up rocks, and it has Toxic just pretty much be like a status spreader. Um, I do have a Suicune and Florges that Calm Mind. I have a very tanky Crobat with rough skin, Rocky How like oh no well Garchomp has rough skin. I think Crobat has the Rocky Helmet. I actually was very close to giving the Rocky Helmet to Garchomp as well because honestly I just looked at the matchup and I was like, yeah, how the hell am I gonna do with Mega Gyarados if it flinches one of my mons down? Especially like with Mold Breaker, you could flinch Mega Gallade, which is hilarious. But Winter Focus and shit, so um anyways, and also with Mega Gallade, I do have Bulk Up. So, Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and that's about it. So, um, and lastly, I have a Scarf Koko because I kind of realized that if Gyarados and Victini and if Mance gets a +1, I'm kind of screwed. So I need something to revenge him. So, yeah. So I think it's like just sort of a classic Bolt Beam coverage, Bolt Switch, and Hidden Power Ice. Then yeah, so anyways, in terms of leads, I'm like, alright, so he didn't bring Ditto, and he didn't bring Lantern, so I'm like, I was thinking about leading with Koko, so I was like, eh. But then I realized, he's gonna get his webs up, and I don't know if I wanted to go with this early setup with like Gallade because he has possibly double Intimidate, and I can't really stop that. So if I was SD, this would be a different story because I would just lead with Gallade immediately. So here I'm kind of forced to go into like Garchomp, as you'll see. Here I just go to Mr. Gibbles or Mrs. Gibbles or whatever. I don't know, the gender change is very weird, but yeah. And then you have Leave Me Alone, the Leavanny, so already I'm like, yeah, we're gonna trade hazards, aren't we? So here I just go for Dragon Claw. Trying to gauge the damage on this thing, so he's gonna go for the webs. As yeah, here I decided to go for rocks, as he just goes for Leaf Blade. So he's gonna take some rough skin. So thankfully, it doesn't activate a possible like Papa Berry, but it's whatever. So yeah. Um, at this point, I'm kind of like thinking to myself, okay, so he has webs up, and that's already kind of bad. And I'm like, it's not the end of the world as long as I could get some chip damage onto Gera. We should be fine. So here I'm just gonna go for Dragon Claw, and I should outspeed most of his Pokemon still. So unless one of them is Scarf, so then he goes to the Jumbo Shrimp like immediately, and I'm like, all right, I see you. You're gonna go intimidate me down, and honestly, the next few turns is pretty much like this turn's like being from bad to worse. You'll see why, because here he goes to make Gyarados, as I missed my Toxic, and I'm like, Lil, I am gonna lose 3 Pokemon right now. And I'm like, I mean, Garchomp's already a Pokemon and a half. well, half Pokemon, but still. Missing that Toxic was huge because I can't wither this thing down. And if this thing had like rest, I could at least play around with it with Koko or make an aggressive play with it. But now that he missed, or I missed my Toxic, this means he's gonna get a free Dragon's Dance, and he's not gonna get residual damage over time. And especially with the rough skin and Rocky Helmet having a Crobat and on Chomp, that's gonna be like that could have just helped me right there. So, um, here I'm kind of thinking, okay, who the hell do I sack now? Because, um, I pretty much was heavily debating on Crobat or like because here's the thing, I was debating whether to sack Garchomp or Crobat because I still have defog on Koko. I do have like Volt Switch, like Thunderbolt, Ice, HP Ice. It'll be very difficult for me to get it off, but I could still sort of defog for Garchomp. However, the problem is I probably will lose my rocks. So at this point, I'm like thinking, yeah, maybe defog might not be the best play here. So for that long term, so going with Koko. I do also have a Crobat, and I'm like thinking to myself, maybe I could just go Crobat and see if I could tank something from this. And I just go Crobat as he goes for Waterfall, and as you can see, we don't eat that as well as we hoped. I was kind of hoping he activates my berry. Oh, but that just does too much damage, and I'm like, yeah, we're boned. So he's just gonna go for the Waterfall, and yep, we just lose this guy right now. So we lose our Crobat, which would be pretty helpful against the. Well, I don't know, because Crobat would have been a very weird situation. It might have been helpful against Salamence, but that's whatever. I go to Gallade, and honestly, I think Gallade was probably the only other Pokemon that just made sense here. Because I do have Bulk Up, and this whole game comes down to whether I just get flinched, and fortunately I don't. And even though I have Inner Focus, he does have Mold Breaker to break through this, so yeah. Thankfully we're able to take out the Gyara, but we just lost Crobat. And now this game comes down to like trying to figure out how you could play around like pretty much 3 Wall Breakers and a Zapdos. So I still have Suicune and Florges, so it's not the end of the world. And Koko is technically like with the Scarf, I could technically like just outspeed regular things just as fine. But if Mence gets a +1 boost, then it's over. So yeah. Here I just go to Garchomp, thinking like maybe I could just try and like preserve Gallade. And I figured like at this point Garchomp is gonna be really weak, and it'll probably be like it just didn't have any value for me. Like I just knew that this thing was probably gonna die, and its speed, especially with the speed stat. So, and it's revealed that Victini is a Life Orb. So, and at this point I'm like thinking to myself, wait a minute, what other switch-ins do I have here? And obviously Gallade, if I go into Gallade, that ruins the whole purpose of going to Gallade or switching out in the first place. Suicune is another possible switch into Victini, but to be honest, Victini should also be mixed. And then at that point, I just realized if this guy is mixed Victini, which looks very likely, then Florges ain't a good switch in either, because he could just go for V-Create and just kill me right there on the spot. So now I'm thinking to myself, do I have to like literally go on Koko right now and just risk like a damage roll? And at that point, that's when I realized, okay, I have to like kind of go. This is the play where I'm thinking to myself, maybe I could just go Koko like right then and there, because if I could go Koko, he's not gonna expect it that I'm scarfed. And there is depending on whether he is naive. Okay, if he's naive, nature or one of the mixed natures, that could actually help me out, because that could help me with a damage roll. but very likely, like this thing could also be special of Victini. So at this point, I'm like, you know what, fuck it, we'll just go Koko, and we'll see what happens. Because if we're able to kill Victini out of the way, I think our chances to win are just increased immensely. So yeah. So here, I just set up electric terrain and whatnot. So here, I don't think he expects me to like be faster than Victini because of course I have the scarf. Here I just go for the Thunderbolt and I just knock out huge threat. However, Nidoking goes in and I'm like, well, I have to sack a Pokemon now, so. And here I just go to Gallade as he actually sets up rocks, and I'm like, whoa, that's actually very helpful for me. Um, and now this Gallade is in very prime position to go for something, for any setup if it wants to. So, and I don't know if this I think Nidoking has like wants to stay in or not because first of all, I think he's gonna need this thing for Koko for sure. But second of all, like he might need it for Suicune and Florges, so I think he might just switch out. So from here, I believe I just go for the. I think I gotta go for Ice Punch, or oh wait, I just go for knockoff. So I just go for knockoff here, remove the item. I think the reason why I go for the knockoff is just to remove like the Nidoking's like life orb because I think that's will be help. That'll be very annoying, especially for Suicune or Florges. However, if Nidoking is like sort of a defensive build, that could be really annoying because you know, if he has T spikes, that could just like you know, end the game right there. So it won't be the end of the world, but that means Suicune doesn't have recovery. So here I do remove the leftovers on Zapdos, so that's gonna be very helpful. Here he goes for the Roost, as I go for Bulk Up. And I'm like, okay, I could just bulk up here and just try to set up on this guy. So here he goes for the Toxic. So he has Roost, Toxic, and some electric coverage and maybe Hidden Power Ice or something like that. And at this point, I go for the Ice Punch, do some major damage, and I'm just gonna go for a Drain Punch, predicting him to Roost. So at this point, I'm like, this is a sort of a mixed bag if you ask me. And here I kind of make a weird play slash it's kind of a weird play because I just go for Drain Punch again, thinking that you know what, I might want to. I'm trying to get like Zapdos as low as possible. However, or no, I don't like. I think I tried like predicting him for Roost, but instead what happens is that he goes for Volt Switch. And this is a mixed bag because here I actually go for Bulk Up. And he goes into Salamence. So, doesn't have Intimidate. But, unfortunately, I don't take advantage of this turn at all because this means now Salamence is pretty much set up to... is pretty much free to get a Moxie Boost. And I'm like, well, shit. And I got for maybe an Ice Punch. This would have just made the game a hell of a lot easier. Because that means that just means dealing with Nidoking and Zapdos, and that's about it. So yeah, and also Volt Switch means on the Zapdos means that I could just pretty much set up on Suicune. Yes, it has Toxic, but I could just wear it down to the point where like you know with my own Suicune because I do actually have Icy Wind just for like you know slowing stuff down. And yeah, we're gonna lose Gallade for this dumb reason I did. So I should have probably won for the Ice Punch there, but you know, I didn't expect him to have Volt Switch at all. So yeah, had he revealed Ice or Volt Switch a little earlier, I probably would have won for the Ice Punch. But you know, it's whatever. At this point, I'm like gonna go for the Icy Wind, and I don't think he could like kill Suicune. And I don't think he wants to do that or risk it, so... Especially the fact that, like, Koko could still outspeed, possibly, the Mints. But... Here I just go for Icy Wind, predicting the Zapdos. And at this point, I'm just gonna go hard... I think I go hard Koko. Expecting either a Toxic. However, he actually just makes a clever play, just go for Roost. And then I think the next couple plays, I just keep spamming Hidden Power Ice. as he just keeps roosting. As he's just gonna keep roosting for most of the turns. So he has only 11. I think he has like, well, whatever, but he has 11 roosts left. So he's finally able to toxic my Ruffles, and honestly, this puts me in a bad situation now because Zapdos. We're now in a situation where Zapdos could probably win him the game just by itself. However, I just decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna go Florges and whatever. And I'm just gonna try to set up with it, go for some Calm Minds. I think this Florges set I have Sanitas. I think it was Sanitas, Calm Mind, Moonblast, and I think it was either Hidden Power Ground or something like that. I think it was something for I think it was for Victini. So yeah, Nidoking. No, I don't think it was Hidden Power Ground. I think it was Sanitas. But in this situation, I wasn't able to use it at all because I felt, you know what, I wouldn't be able to beat Nidoking. So here I just go for a Calm Mind boost, and he goes for the Volt Switch, and goes into Nidoking immediately, and I just go for another Calm Mind. Now, unfortunately, this depends on this Nidoking. I don't know what other coverage he has. He could have Poison Jab for all I care. And this whole game comes down to whether he's Life Orb or not, which it's very likely he is. So he goes for the Sludge Wave. Does this? Well, it does two-shot me, and I go for the Moonblast. I'm able to do like a good 42%. And at this point, I pretty much chipped down the Nidoking to where it could just get two-shotted by Koko. So if he's like no bulk, so I think that's pretty much all I needed. So, and I just go hard Koko here, and here I just go for the Hidden Power Ice and knock out the Nidoking. So yeah, and at this point he goes in Zapdos, and honestly I could have it was a good situation for me to put myself Koko in because that meant that like Koko would have just been able to like two-shot the Zapdos if he like switched in. So that was pretty good on my end. So basically we were able to get at least one of his Pokemon. So however, now it comes down to how we play this end game. So here I just go to Suicune, and I'm like, you know what, it's whatever. Like, okay, the reason why I go Suicune here is, let's say he goes for Volt Switch. He goes to Mence, and if Mence is Outrage, let's say if Mence is Outrage, he can't lock himself in that move because even if he does, that puts him in a situation where well, Zapdos will basically, obviously just roosted right now, but like, let's say he Volt Switched. That means it puts him in like below 50% range, which is in range of my Thunderbolt. So yeah, and he can't even like go for Outrage because if he does, that means it puts Koko. Koko can just like go and revenge Salamence with a Thunderbolt, and of course, not even Wakan can save him because the resistances and whatnot. So yeah. Here he just goes for the Roost, just try to get as healthy as possible. So, and here I decided to go for Calm Mind, and he actually misses Toxic, which is huge, because now I have a situation where Suicune can actually beat this Zapdos 1v1 because I'm thinking he doesn't have any other electric. His last move has to either be like Hidden Power Ice or Defog. So at this point, Zapdos, I could just get a good chunk on this thing, and so I'm just gonna go for another Combine, and yeah, he's gonna go for Volt Switch, which I actually don't agree with that, because I actually go for the Icy Wind, and I just knock out the Salamence, and yeah, Suicune is just right now. It looks like Suicune could like win this game for me. I just have to like hit this Icy Wind and just slow the Zapdos down, so where like Thunderbolt doesn't where. Like, let's say he's fast Zapdos. I just have to ensure that, like, Thunderbolt will always, like, Oko Zapdos with Koko. So, here, I get the damage I need. So, now I could just spam Scald. Because, he's going to remove his flying typing. And I do get lucky and get the burn. So now I'm able to chip this thing out down even more. So, and he's forced to go for roost because otherwise, if he doesn't kill me, then I pretty much win. So now I pretty much get a free switch in into Koko, and he is like he is at -1. We're both at -1. But since I have the scarf, it's pretty much GG. So yeah, we won the game. So that was a very tense game, if you ask me, for just the first week. Honestly, Vice played very well. I think it was just because I think it was a series of like stuff that happened and whatnot. Like, of course, missing Toxic on Tagera sucked, but I think I could have played it better because I think this was a combination of me playing bad and just team building wise. Because if I had Defog on Krobak instead of on Koko, then I would have just prevented this whole situation. So yeah. Um, One thing that really saved me was the fact that I think the Zapdos set, ironically speaking, because Volt Switch, while it does give Zapdos a great pivot option, it just made it setup fodder for like my mons like Suicune and Florges, even Gallade. So um had I been able to defog these hazards, then I think away and somehow I probably would have been have a better time in this game. But I don't know. So anyways, overall, I think we played somewhat. I think we played somewhat sloppy, but we came out in the end. So yeah, good games to Spice as we just move on with a 1-0 record with a 1 differential. So next week we'll be having a win, and I think this is one of those games where I'm just going to be honest. I think the matchup, it's like this. Even though this matchup was really bad, the next game's matchup is going to be the opposite, as you'll see. So I'll see you guys next time. So peace.